battle-scarred from that horrendous crash in Houston. Just tell us about the medical advice that you received and how tough it was to absorb and reach the decision that you have made.
Well, thank you everybody for the warm welcome, and also thank you to everybody. A lot of people in the room reached out after the accident and also after the retirement announcement, so thank you. Luckily it was two doctors that I really trusted, Dr. Trammell, Dr. Olvey. Olvey on the head, Trammell on the back, and just the concussion from the accident it was just too big to be able to continue. Another hit could be really a big problem. Same thing with the spine. It wasn't an easy thing to do. I spent a couple of days trying to figure out ways to kind of get around it. I thought, oh, let's see, there's got to be a way here, and it became pretty apparent pretty quickly. But there wasn't. So, you know, it's in some ways a tough decision. In a lot of ways I'm lucky to be here to make that decision. And if, as they say in Scotland, I've had a pretty good kick at the ball, so, you know, I'll move on to the next stage.
Yeah, it's a right decision. And you've come to terms with that decision. It was tough for a few days, I'm sure.
Well, it's still tough in some ways. I still, unfortunately, think a lot about driving the car. The team are testing in 3 days at Sebring, and I found myself the other night thinking about, okay, the last time we tested there, these were the problems, and, you know, oh, I need to fix this and this and this. So I found myself calling my engineer and saying, okay, whoever you end up putting in the car, you know, think about this, 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 and this. So the passion's still there to do something. Hopefully, you know, Chip and I have talked about doing something about next year and going forward. I'd love to continue working with the team and in IndyCar, but just won't be behind the wheel anymore.
Yeah. But you can look back on an absolutely fantastic career. And it was 21 years ago that you were up here on this stage receiving the award as McLaren Autosport Young Driver of the Year. There you are up on the screen.
Yeah.
If you told that fresh-faced youngster that you'd go on to win 3 Indy 500s and 4 IndyCar titles, you'd say, right, you know, I'll settle for that.
One of which with that man as my boss. Yeah, I remember Michael Andretti. Senna was supposed to present the award that night, but got fogged in, I think, somewhere. So Mike and I ended up doing that, and no, I've had a wonderful time, a great career. I don't even want to call it a career. It's been what I love to do. It was never felt like a job. So no, it's been an absolute privilege to do it, and you know, to me, Indianapolis is just a very, very special place.
Yeah. Okay, Dario, thanks very much for joining us here tonight. You're a great friend of this event. We hope to see a lot more of you in years to come. But you're here to present a Gregor Grant Lifetime Achievement Award to another great British motorsport legend. Next year will be something of a celebration for a man, because it will be 50 years since he became the first and probably the only man to win the World Championship on 2 and 4 wheels. Another stupendous ovation for a legend of motorsport, John Surtees. Welcome. This is your moment, but it is appropriate as well to get from you just a brief reflection on the decision that Dario has taken and the manner in which he's taken it.
I think it shows how he's approached his career as a whole. Dario, I know very well that I lay in a hospital in Canada, happened to think exactly the same thing. And waiting on doctors' reports and having to think, perhaps this is the end, and a new life will have to beckon. But the fact is, if you've gone along and you've achieved things as Dario has and everything else, as one sort of chapter closes, another will open. It won't be he will be lost to motorsport. He will just go along and use all that energy and drive and that character which he's developed in his career, just to develop another way of life.
Which is exactly what you've done in so many different forms in motorsport. When you look back on your career, what gives you the greatest pleasure, satisfaction in terms of an achievement? What you've done on 2 wheels, what you've done on 4, or what element of your varied motorsport life?
I suppose coming back from my accident was a major factor, because there's a question of when I had to learn to walk again and things like this. That was a thing. But if I look back, the most important race of my life was that race which I won down there in Aberdeen in Wales. I built this bike up in the back shed, working at Vincent's. and I'd gone to Aberdeen, and I sat on that bike, and on that day, I was no longer a mechanic testing a bike. I came together with it. It talked to me, and I was understanding it, and I created that relationship with that machinery, which went on to set the whole scene for the rest of my life in relating to machinery. And I think that we have a world champion over there who this year has demonstrated this question of coming together with a machine and understanding it completely,
sort of as
and
one.
having that feel, you know, through the seat of the pants and the tip of the fingers, which is very, very special.
Yeah. No one's going to do it again, are they? It's physically impossible, 2 wheels and 4 world titles on both. But the manner in which you made the transition, I mean, for example, the first time you sat in a racing car, you were racing.
Well, it was all set by Sportsman of the Year contest. Sportsman of the Year contest, and I was taken to a luncheon just down the road here at the Dorchester, actually. And on that table was Rich Parnell, Tony Vandervelde, and Mike Hawthorne. And I'd never met any of them before. I was just a motorcyclist. And first thing is, Mike was very enthusiastic. Oh, bikes. We're going to ride in a press trial the coming weekend at Brands Hatch. He had a trials bike, and I had one. As it happened, it didn't happen because on the way up, he was killed. But at that meeting, he said, try a car, John. So I said, well, no, I'm a motorcyclist. He said, no, try a car. They stand up easier.
That's good advice.
It set me thinking a bit, but then Reg Parnell turned round and said, oh, driving Aston Martin. I'm team manager of Aston Martin, driving Aston Martin. So I said, no, no, no. And Tony Vandervelde said, who just retired from racing, said, you are a motorcyclist, I'm a motorcyclist. If you drive anything at all, you drive a van wheel. Well, a few weeks later, it ended up that Reg Parnell was on the phone, come to Goodwood, drive a DBR1 Aston Martin. Sterling Moss had won at the Nürburgring with it. It's a bit of a secret test because it didn't have a David Brown gearbox in it. It had a Maserati gearbox. And we didn't want the general racing world to know. So I went down there, tried it, and stopped the first time, and Reg said, sign this, please. What's that? Contract. I said, no, 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 no. I'm a motorcyclist. Again, getting a bit tired of saying this. So I know what happened. That night, I had I think he must have had the odd drink. I had Tony Vandervelde on the phone. What the hell are you doing, XYZ, driving that so-and-so's cars? David York and the van wheels will be taken out on mothballs and will be at Goodwood tomorrow. Be there. So I had a pair of van wheels to go round and round Goodwood with. Sterling may not remember, but that night he rang me up. He said, been driving my car. So I said, yes. So I said, yeah, I've been driving your car. And he said, how'd you get on? I said, well, Ford Water. I'm not so sure about Ford Water. Each time I come up to Ford Water, I think, well, I can get this pretty well, you know, flat. But then the right foot tends to ease off, and I go through it. It drops into that little dip. The car sits down, and I think, well, perhaps not. He said, no, 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 no. Harry flatters. Harry flatters. So, oh, well. Next day I go down there, and I build up and build up. And I think, yes, I can do this. And I kept my foot in it. And the car went over the rise, dropped in. They all know this sort of reaction. It sat down on the suspension, and then it started going round. And I did some of the harvesting for Lord March. I went off into the winter barley and stuffed it full of it. David York came round. He said, you no need to worry. He said, you know, you did the time of that before. So, no worry. Of course, Sterling, I think, rang up again and said, you didn't try, did you? But this is the thing I had to start learning about drivers, because the next thing, of course, as you know, a year later, well, 9 months later, MV Augusta said, you mustn't ride any bikes other than an MV, because the Italian press had said that I could win on anything. And so I decided to try a car and buy one. But I went to John Cooper, Tony Kentill, had been arranged by John to be there, and Ken came along and said, I've entered you for Goodwood. You will be there in a Formula Junior Cooper Austin. I formed a new team, and I've spoken to the RAC. They review you to see if you're safe, and if you are, they give you a license.
Wonderful.
So that was the first race I ever saw.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you've seen a few since then, and you've led a few since then. 1964, with Ferrari, you were a Formula One world champion, and that record was set in stone, the only man to win the world title on 2 wheels and 4. John Surtees, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. And congratulations, John. Our thanks to Dario Franchitti as well. And that's why, with the World Championship landed in 1964, that's why next year will be a year of celebration for John, 50 years on from completing the double. John Surtees, our Gregor Grant Award winner.
Incidentally, George Barber of Alabama, who has the Barber Raceway, is sending over the original Formula One car for me to have here for next year, so we can use it for demonstrations.
That'd be wonderful.
For the foundation. So that's rather a nice twist.
Excellent. That's all part of the celebrations of next
Thank
year.
you.
John, thank you very much. And there'll be a whole collection of John Surtees cars at Autosport International at Birmingham in January. That kicks off the kind of year's celebration. And hopefully, as part of that year's celebration, someone, somewhere, will at long last give John Surtees the knighthood that he deserves. And if anyone in this room has got any kind of influence, let's get the job done.